Welcome to Nick's Scary Stories, where today we're diving into 5 spine-chilling tales from haunted houses across Modesto, California. These true encounters come from locals who swore they'd never return to the homes they left behind. Mysterious shadows, locked rooms, ghosts that know your name. If you're brave enough, hit the like button, comment your scariest experience, and don't forget to subscribe for more terrifying tales. Now, turn off the lights and let's begin. Story 1. The Girl in the Basement. Location: South Modesto, 2016. If you asked me back then, I would have told you that ghosts weren't real. I was the kind of person who laughed off horror movies and rolled my eyes when people talked about hauntings. I needed proof. And unfortunately, I got it. It started the first week we moved in. My fiancé Ethan and I had just rented a house in South Modesto. It was an older split-level home. Nothing fancy, but with a big backyard and a finished basement. We'd just gotten engaged and it felt like the start of something new. The kind of place you could make memories in. That first night, we stayed up late unpacking. Around 11 p.m., Ethan went down to the basement to check the water heater. I stayed upstairs folding towels in the hallway closet when I heard footsteps on the floor above me. Slow. Dragging. Which didn't make sense because I was on the main floor. There was no second floor. I froze. The sound passed right above the hallway ceiling, then stopped. I called down the stairs. "Ethan? You hear that?" No answer. A moment later, he came back up holding a wrench. "Hear what?" I didn't answer. I didn't want to sound paranoid. The next few days were calm. Normal even. But then our cat, Clove, started acting weird. She'd sit facing the basement door and hiss at nothing, tail twitching, ears pinned back. She wouldn't go downstairs anymore. And if we tried to carry her, she clawed at us until we let go. One night, Ethan went to the basement for laundry. I was brushing my teeth when I heard him yell. Not scared, just annoyed. "Did you close the crawl space?" he shouted. "No," I said through the hallway. "Why would I?" There was a pause. Then he came upstairs with a weird look on his face. "The lock was jammed," he said, like someone twisted it shut from the inside. The crawl space was in the far corner of the basement. It was sealed when we moved in, old wood boards nailed over a square cutout in the brick wall. But someone had added a padlock. What? The landlord told us the basement was sealed off decades ago, that there was no real need to access that space. She brushed it off like it was nothing, said it was just old storage. But something about it felt deliberate, like someone had wanted it sealed, not just shut. Then the dream started. Every night, I'd wake up around 3:08 a.m., always from the same dream. A girl, maybe 11 or 12 years old, standing by our bedroom door. Long dark hair. Thin frame. Her dress looked old, like something from the 70s. She'd just stand there, head tilted, whispering something too soft to hear. Every time I'd wake up gasping. And the exact same thing happened for 4 nights in a row. I didn't tell Ethan. He'd already been talking about hearing weird sounds in the pipes. I didn't want to add fuel to the fire. But on the 5th night, I woke up again, same time. 3:08 a.m. Only this time, I wasn't dreaming. There was a sound coming from the basement. It wasn't the furnace. It wasn't the plumbing. It sounded like humming. Faint, girlish humming rising up through the floorboards. I sat up, heart racing, and listened. The melody was simple, childish, like a lullaby sung off-key. Then it stopped. I got out of bed and walked to the basement stairs. The light at the bottom was on. Ethan had turned it off earlier. I called down. Nothing. The humming started again, but closer. And then, clear as day, a knock. 3 soft knocks from behind the crawl space wall. I grabbed my phone and hit record, walking down the stairs slowly. I felt like I was stepping into something I wasn't supposed to see. The basement was cold. Clove was at the top of the stairs, growling low in her throat. I approached the sealed door. The air around it felt heavy, like a vacuum. I placed my hand on the padlock. It was warm. The wood was cold, the brick behind it colder, but the lock itself was warm to the touch. Suddenly, from the other side, another knock. Harder. 3 sharp bangs. I bolted back upstairs, locked the basement door, and didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, Ethan found a message written in the dust on the inside of the laundry door. "Don't lock me in again." We moved out 2 weeks later. But that wasn't the end of it. We didn't sleep that night. The message written in the dust didn't make sense. Ethan hadn't gone down to do laundry in 2 days. And I certainly hadn't. But there it was, clear as ever, traced by a small finger into the film of dust. "Don't lock me in again." No footprints. No smudges. Just the words. That morning I called my mom. She's the kind of woman who believes in energies, spirits, and all that. I thought she'd laugh at me, but instead she got quiet. Then she said something that made my stomach turn. "Has anything followed you upstairs?" That word "followed" felt heavy. I asked what she meant, and she told me a story from when she was young. Her cousin once moved into a house with a sealed room. When they broke it open, strange things started happening. They tried to cleanse it, but it got worse. She ended by saying, "Some things don't want to be sealed in. Others do. You need to know which is which." That was the first time I realized, maybe we hadn't let something out. Maybe we were keeping something in. I didn't go to work that day. I stayed home and watched the basement door. Around noon, I worked up the nerve to open it. The light was off again. I flipped the switch and it flickered before turning on. I called Ethan and asked if we could get someone to check the crawl space. He agreed reluctantly. That evening, he borrowed a pry bar from a friend and told me to stay upstairs. But I couldn't. I had to see what was inside. Together, we pulled off the boards. The padlock snapped clean, which shouldn't have been possible. It was thick, solid, rusted. But it came off like it had been waiting. The wood creaked, the smell hit us. Old, wet, metallic. Not quite mold. Not quite rust. Something else. Inside was a low tunnel of crumbling brick, no taller than 4 feet. Ethan shined a flashlight in and we saw it. A small room maybe 10 feet deep. Dust everywhere. An old metal bed frame toppled over. And in the corner, a doll. It was missing one eye. Its hair was patchy, melted on one side. The worst part? Its face had been scratched. Not by time, by hands. The word "bad" was carved into its chest. We left everything exactly as it was. Ethan sealed the crawl space again, this time with steel bolts. We didn't sleep much that night, but nothing happened. Until 2 days later. Ethan woke up first. I was still half asleep when he shook my shoulder. "Did you move Clove?" he whispered. I opened my eyes. Clove wasn't in the room. "She's in the basement," he said. I heard her crying. I sat up, confused. She won't even go near it. But he was already walking toward the door. I followed him down the stairs, heart pounding. The basement light was off again. He flicked it on. It buzzed. Clove was sitting in the center of the floor, facing the crawl space. Perfectly still. Not meowing. Not blinking. Just staring. Ethan stepped forward, but I grabbed his arm. "Wait." The metal bolts we'd installed were gone. The boards peeled back. The door was open again. Inside the tunnel, the doll was gone. We brought Clove back upstairs and locked the basement for good. That night, we put a chair against the door. But at 3:08 a.m., the door creaked open on its own. We called the landlord the next morning. She said we could break our lease without penalty, which told us she knew. Before we left, I asked her one question. Was there ever a little girl here? She hesitated. Then she said, there was a fire. In the 90s. A family lived there before. A girl didn't make it out. She was playing in the crawl space. They found her near the air duct, still holding a doll. I didn't say anything. I just nodded. We moved out the next day. The very next tenant stayed for 3 months before reporting strange activity. The crawl space was resealed again, this time with concrete. But I still check local forums from time to time, just in case someone else posts about a girl in a long dress, humming in the dark. Her name was never listed in any articles I found. No obituary. No school photo. But when I close my eyes at night, I still see her, standing by the doorway, waiting. Story 2, the room no one would rent. Location, East Bakersfield, 2013. You ever walk into a house and just know something doesn't want you there? It was 2013 when my cousin Brian decided to move to Bakersfield. He'd gotten a job at the power plant and needed a place fast. Found a 4-bedroom rental on a quiet street in East Bakersfield. Older house, 1950s style, big yard, cheap rent. Too cheap. He moved in with 3 co-workers from the plant. At first it was perfect. Everyone got their own room, except one. The 4th bedroom was always locked. The landlord had explained that his mother used to live there. She passed away and he hadn't gotten around to clearing the room. Just use the rest of the house, he said. That room's off limits. Nobody pushed back. They had what they needed. And the first few weeks were normal. BBQs on the patio. Cold beers after work. Laughter echoing through the hallway. But the mood changed when Tommy, the youngest of the group, started sleepwalking. It wasn't just the usual kind. He'd be found standing outside that locked room in the middle of the night. Every time. Just staring at the door. One night, Brian woke up to the sound of soft knocking. Not from the front of the house, but from inside. From the locked room. At first, they thought maybe an animal had gotten in. The landlord had said it was sealed, but old houses have gaps. Brian pressed his ear to the door. He swears he heard someone whisper, "Let me out." They called the landlord the next day. He told them it was just pipes, old floorboards settling. But when they asked if they could see the room, just for peace of mind, he flat out refused. "No one goes in there," he said. "I mean it." From that point on, strange things started happening. Tommy began sleepwalking more. Brian once found him in the kitchen, barefoot, with all the knives lined up in a perfect row on the counter. He didn't remember doing it. Another night, Chris, the quiet roommate, woke up choking. His door had slammed shut in the middle of the night and wouldn't open. When Brian finally busted it open, they found 3 deep scratches across the inside panel, like something had tried to get in or out. The thermostat dropped randomly. They'd hear footsteps overhead, even though there was no attic. One night, all the lights flickered out at once, except the bulb in the hallway by the locked door. That one burned brighter. Then came the humming. Always late, always soft, like an old woman singing to herself behind the wall. Brian decided to record it one night. He placed his phone on the floor next to the locked door, hit record, and left it overnight. The next morning, he found the phone halfway across the room. Screen shattered, audio deleted. But before it stopped recording, there were exactly 7 seconds of something. A voice, cracked hoarse, whispering in Spanish. "No quiero dormir sola. I don't want to sleep alone." That same day, Tommy moved out, packed a bag and left before noon. Said he couldn't sleep anymore. Said something watched him from the crack under the door at night. The rest followed a week later. Before they left, Brian slipped a paperclip into the lock and turned the knob. It opened without resistance, like it had been waiting. Inside was a twin bed made perfectly, a rocking chair by the window, and on the floor, a small ceramic bowl filled with blackened teeth. On the wall above the bed, someone had scratched into the paint with their fingernails. "Don't make me stay in here again." They slammed the door and never went back. The landlord never called to ask why they left. A year later, the house was up for rent again. Same listing, same price. Still says 4 bedrooms. But if you look closely, only 3 are ever shown in the photos. Locals say the house always finds new tenants. Always young men. And they never stay longer than a season. People on the street say they still hear that humming when the wind's just right, like she's still waiting, still whispering, still rocking in that chair, wondering when someone will finally let her out. Story 3. The Red Light in Apartment 2B. Location: downtown Bakersfield, 2019. You ever seen a light that didn't seem to come from anywhere? Not the glow from a lamp. Not sunlight through a curtain. I'm talking about something red. Something wrong. It was the fall of 2019 when I moved into a low-rise apartment downtown Bakersfield, just off Chester Avenue. I was 24, fresh out of a bad relationship, and just needed somewhere cheap. The building was old, from the 40s, but clean. It had character. Real brick, narrow hallways, hardwood floors that creaked when you breathed. I ended up in Unit 2B, second floor, back corner. Windows faced the alley. Quiet, private. Rent was $725 a month. A steal even for Bakersfield. But no one told me what happened to the last tenant. The first weird thing started on night 3. I was falling asleep when I saw it. A red light, low and pulsing, spilling out from underneath my closet door. I thought maybe it was my phone charging or a stray LED from the smoke detector. But when I got up, the room was pitch black. The closet was empty. Next night it came back. Same glow, like someone behind the door was holding a red light bulb close to the floor. I opened it again. Nothing. But this time I felt something. It was colder in the closet. Not drafty. So, like the air had been sucked out. My ears even popped. The next morning, I asked the woman next door, Ms. Elkins, if she'd ever seen anything strange. She didn't even hesitate. "You got 2B?" she said. That was Martin's place. I asked who Martin was. He lived there 4 years. Quiet man. Worked nights. The red light started a few months before he died. I asked how he died. She just said, he disappeared. Took the trash out one night. Never came back. They found his keys on the steps. The landlord told the same story, except he added one detail. Martin's apartment had been locked from the inside when they went to check. They had to force the door open. His phone was on the counter. Bed made. One shoe still by the couch. The red bulb in the closet? Never found. By week 2 I started hearing tapping. It always came from the closet. 3 quick knocks. Then silence. The red light returned every night at 2:11 a.m. Not before. Not after. Always the same time. Like it was on a schedule. I recorded it once with my phone. The video just showed blackness, but the audio? There was a hum. Oh, mechanical almost, and under it you could hear breathing. One night, I didn't open the closet. I sat on my bed, shaking, staring at the glow beneath the door, refusing to move. That's when my smoke alarm went off. I ran into the kitchen. No smoke. No fire. Nothing cooking. But on the fridge, written in condensation like someone had breathed on the door, "You saw me." I didn't sleep. The next day I took the closet door off its hinges. I figured no door, no light. Whatever it was, I was done playing along. That night, 2:11 a.m. came. No door. No barrier. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring into that open closet. No light appeared. For the first time in 2 weeks, I felt okay. Until 2:14. That's when the power went out. All of it. Every light, every socket, the hallway lamp outside my unit. And there, inside the closet, a red glow. Not a light. A shape. It rose up slow from the floor. Like a figure, back turned, hunched low, bones cracking with each shift. Its hands reached the edges of the frame. It pulled itself higher. The glow came from inside its chest, pulsing like a heart, but burning like a furnace. Then it turned its head and looked right at me. I don't remember screaming. I don't remember grabbing my keys. I just remember the door slamming behind me as I ran barefoot down the stairs and out into the street. I never went back. I left everything, my clothes, laptop, even my wallet. I slept in my car for 3 nights before getting a motel on Union Avenue. A week later, the landlord called. Said I still owed rent. I told him to keep the stuff. He said someone else moved into 2B. They left after 2 days. Didn't even take their bags. They told the landlord there was a man with a red glow standing in the closet. Just standing there. Breathing. Story 4. The house on Water Street had no mirrors. Location: East Bakersfield, 2017. Some houses don't want you to look at yourself. That's what I learned the summer I rented a place on Water Street, just off Niles, tucked behind a row of dying oak trees and a fence that leaned like it was trying to leave. It was 2017 and I was in between jobs, recently divorced and desperate to restart. My cousin knew a guy who had a house available, cheap, month to month, no background checks. I didn't ask questions. I just needed a place to crash. The moment I stepped inside, I noticed it. No mirrors. None. Not in the bathroom. Not in the bedroom. Not even on closet doors or medicine cabinets. Every reflective surface, glass, metal, even polished tile, was either removed or painted over. It didn't click at first. I just thought it was weird. Maybe the previous tenant had a phobia or something. I went to Target that weekend and bought a full-length mirror, a little wall one for the bathroom, and a vanity-style mirror for the dresser. The first one shattered before I could hang it. It fell flat off the wall hook, despite being leveled, double-anchored, and tested. The second one? Cracked overnight. I found it the next morning with a jagged split down the center, like it had been punched from the inside. The third mirror, the one I kept on the dresser, I caught moving. Not physically, but the reflection. I was brushing my teeth one night and I swear I saw myself blink out of sync. Just once. Like a hiccup in a video call. But it was enough to stop me cold. I told myself it was just stress. Bad lighting. A trick of the eye. I stopped using that mirror, left it on the dresser face down. That's when the knocking started. It came from inside the walls. Slow. Measured. 3 taps. Always 3. Then silence. Sometimes it would echo through the floorboards. Other times it came from the ceiling like something crawling between the rafters. I checked the attic. Nothing. No sign of rats, possums, pipes. But the bathroom mirror, the cracked one, I kept catching glimpses. Not reflections. Faces. Behind me. I'd turn. Nothing there. But the moment I looked back, the glass would be fogged. As if someone had been breathing on it, even in a cold room. I should have left then. But I didn't. Instead, I invited my friend Rob over. Told him I thought the house was haunted. He laughed until he stepped into the hallway and the lights blew out. Every bulb at once, pop, 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 like a chain reaction. Then came the knocking. From every wall. Like someone was walking in a circle around the house, rapping with their knuckles, slow and rhythmic. Rob left without saying goodbye. That night, I flipped the bathroom mirror around to face the wall. The next morning, it was flipped back. I called the landlord. Told him I needed out. He sounded tired. Real tired. You see it? He asked. I didn't answer. Don't use mirrors, he said. That's how it watches. What watches? I asked. He hung up. 2 days later, I set up my phone in the hallway on video mode, pointed toward the mirror I'd left in the kitchen. I let it record while I slept. When I reviewed the footage, it was mostly dark. But at 3:14 a.m., the frame stuttered. The screen went static for 3 seconds. When it cleared, someone was standing in front of the mirror. Not me. Not a person. It had my height, my build, but its eyes were black. What? Like the pupils swallowed everything else. It just stood there. No expression, no breath. Watching the phone. Watching me. Then it lifted one hand and pressed it against the mirror. And disappeared. I deleted the footage. Not out of fear, out of instinct. Like if I kept it, it would keep watching me. The next day I covered every mirror. Blankets. Duct tape. I even pulled the broken one out of the wall and tossed it in the garbage. I started showering at the gym, brushing my teeth without looking down. My phone camera stayed off. My laptop closed. The silence got worse. Now I'd hear whispers from behind the walls. Not words, just tone. Set. Oh, female. Like a woman humming a song she didn't remember the words to. On my final night, I dreamt I walked into the bathroom and peeled off the blanket from the mirror. Behind me stood 10 figures. All versions of me. Slightly off. Each had a different face, a different wound. One had no eyes. One had a twisted mouth. One looked like it had been burned. They stood shoulder to shoulder, all humming, all swaying. When I woke up, the blankets were on the floor. The mirror was bare. The humming had followed me into the waking world. I packed a duffel and left before sunrise. I never went back. I moved into a friend's spare room and never looked in a mirror for 6 months. When I finally did, at a gas station bathroom in Barstow, I stared at my reflection for a long time. And it blinked first.